We've served on a number of boards, and specifically Tennessee School Board Association together. He is co-founder and president of American Public Education Foundation, past president of NSBA, that's the National School Board Association, as well as TSBA. He is an attorney, wealth advisor, and a financial planner. I thought he'd want me to tell you that since he's taking his time tonight, so you know about what he really does with his day job. But if I could find a public school, a traditional school advocate anywhere, I don't think I could find one greater than Attorney David Pickler. David, you're on.
Thank you very much, President Sweetlove. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited to be here, members of the task force, and as President Sweetlove says, I am here as a public school advocate. I believe in public education. I believe in the public schools, and I believe in that they are integral to the future of our nation. One of my favorite quotes came from a former Supreme Court justice who was integral to the passage in the decision of Brown versus Board of Education, a man by the name of Felix Frankfurter, who once said that the public school is at once a symbol, the symbol of our democracy, and the most pervasive means of promoting our common destiny. See, what Justice Frankfurter understood at the time is that the public school and the public schools are far more than just a civil right. Public schools are a vital national security interest. Ladies and gentlemen, in public education, each and every year, we educate 54 million children. Over 90% of all the children in America's schools of any type are going to get that education through America's public schools. The future of our nation, in my opinion, will be largely determined by our ability to prepare those 54 million children for engaged citizenship and global competitiveness. And so that's why I say it's more than just a civil right. It is a vital national security interest. And I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that I believe that our public schools are under attack. And they have been for many years. In the state of Tennessee, we began a battle unfortunately, between public education and charter schools many years ago. And some of you will remember, about 7 or 8 years ago, I believe it was, when we had a gentleman by the name of Arnie Duncan serving as the U.S. Department of Education Secretary. And he chose to intrude into Tennessee politics. And what he did was he offered the people of the state of Tennessee the literal equivalent of 30 bags of silver. 30 pieces of silver. By saying that for Tennessee to be able to participate in the race to the top money and to be able to qualify for the millions of dollars that would be there, that they had to radically change their charter school laws in the state of Tennessee. In fact, the state legislature had actually voted to keep the limits on charter schools where it was until the message came down from Duncan's office the next day that you needed to change that vote or have no chance for the race to the top money. And that is when we began to expand the scope of charter schools in the state of Tennessee. That's also when we began to see the message coming that while it is true that charter schools in the state of Tennessee are approved initially by that local Board of Education, a board that I was very proud to serve for 16 years here in Shelby County. The reality is that what they're not talking about is that if in fact that board chooses not to embrace and endorse that application, that applicant can go to a state commission. That's right. And that state commission can, for reasons all of their own, choose to override the decision of the Board of Education and send them back down here with absolutely no further say of that local board. And for that charter to be granted for a period of 10 years with very limited oversight and accountability. That's the facts about how charters work in the state of Tennessee. Charter schools are also, in a form, a public school. They receive public dollars. And yes, while public children do take the state standardized test, and while the teachers must have that certification, then that is nowhere near the level of scrutiny, the level of oversight that is required of all of the other 135 now, I believe, public education school systems in the state of Tennessee. You are giving them public school dollars, but without true public school accountability. And that's one of the big problems that I have. Now, we heard how, that 46% of these schools are meeting certain standards in the state of Tennessee. And I applaud that. That's great. But nationwide, only 17% of all charter schools actually outperform their local public school peers. That means 83% of the schools nationwide are doing only as well or less well than the public school counterparts, and doing it again without accountability. The charter school concept originated within the public schools as a way for us to create an incubator of innovation, for ideas to be germinated within the public school that could then be used to make things better for our kids. We understand in public education that we have a need to get better. We must be reform leaders and change agents, because if we don't, there will be people in Washington that will be making moves to do that. But the reality is, the charter school, in my opinion, has become a vehicle for those whose agenda is to privatize public education, to resegregate America's schools. Charter schools and even the voucher programs are niche programs. If you look at where we stand, there are 6,700 charter schools as of the year 2015 across America, serving 2.9 million children. There are approximately also about 400,000 kids who are participating in voucher programs. They are niche programs, but they are truly the tail that's wagging the dog. Now, I will tell you that we have a new president coming in, and we certainly have a new Secretary of Education coming in, Betsy DeVos. Betsy DeVos is an avowed charter and voucher advocate. And we know that the mosaic of public education as we go forward is going to look different. And so what we have to do as public education advocates is to be those change agents, to be those reform leaders, and to make our voices heard. To make sure the voice of the 90% of those 54 million children are heard. Because if we don't, if we simply go in there and say we're just against everything, we risk being considered to be irrelevant. We can't simply say, no, we're against charter schools. No, we're against vouchers. We have to embrace the world order that's out there. So what that means is that we have to continue to advocate and continue to send the message that public schools reflect their local community. Public schools reflect the problems, the benefits, the opportunities of our local communities. And that a one-size-fits-all solution will not work. All politics local in public education is best served when it's led by local leaders, locally elected leaders, and the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David. Questions?
Yes,
I'm gonna put a time limit on questions too.
my questions are short.
Okay.
Your other ones. That was inspiring. I have a question. The question has to do with nation building. The American Scholar claims that this country no longer cares about nation building, and that's why the public dollars are being invested and reinvested in privatization. Once was a time we thought we would educate some people so they'd be a better citizen, and the country would fare better. But now that most people are going to school for lining their own pockets, the American Scholar says the nation building part is gone and public funds are leaving because of that. So I'm wondering, listen to you talk about how important it is to keep public education and looking at how privatization is not only seeping, it was seeping and now it's flooding in. What do you think, and who do you think will listen to our message of nation building and the need for public dollars to be increased in public education?
Thank you for your question. Quite frankly, the biggest challenge that we have in public education is ourselves. If you take a look across all of the various constituencies in public education, you rarely see any unity of message. What you see is each organization almost fighting each other. if you think about the bully pulpit that we can own in public education, people don't realize that public education, collectively taken, is the single largest employer in America. We have, if you take a look at the 6.1 million employees in public education, we dwarf even the federal government. We are, in most communities we serve, the first, second, or third largest employer in our community. But what we do in public education is we don't allow and we don't come together with the various groups and focus on singular messages that can resonate. And so what ends up happening is when the great tables are brought together to discuss the major issues, we're not at the table. And when you're not at the table, you often find yourself on the menu. And so, to me, the way that we address this is that we begin to come together and we have this basic understanding. Again, that public education is that vital national security interest. And that while we can embrace innovation, and while we will embrace reform, while we will embrace the change necessary to make public education the best it can be, and we will embrace those things, we must come together with a common theme that public education matters and that we must invest in our communities, because one of the very few things that government can do that can truly make our country great and perpetuate this great American dream that we all believe in is to educate our children.
I have a question. I have a real quick question.